vinyl friends and vinyl community. It's Brian from Brian's Vinyl Records, and I'm here to do my December haul. A little later than I normally like to do, but stuff happens. Things get in the way, and I had to go find everything again because I cleaned some of it and set it over there, and I moved some of it over here, and I had already started putting it away before I realized it. So here we are. It is January, middle of January, and this was what I brought in December. We'll start with some Christmas music because it was December. I picked up Mannheim Steamrollers Christmas Eve, and this was Mannheim Steamrollers Christmas 35th anniversary. This is something that we had on CD growing up and would listen to over and over again on Christmas time, and I was super pumped to find this and get this into my collection. So that's the first one we have. It's on a pretty nice green wax. Next up, we have Amanda Shires. This is called For Christmas. This is different. This is a Christmas album that you could actually probably spin year-round. The songs aren't your typical Christmas songs. There are a lot of original songs on here from Amanda. And yeah, it's more like an album that has a Christmas theme embedded into it. But I don't know, I could probably spin this year round. It's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. Alright, so next up, as many of you know, AC/DC is one of my top bands, probably my favorite band ever, and I've been trying to get 2003 mixes and original mixes of all their albums, so I picked this up recently at my local record store. This is Power Age. This is the 2003 reissue version, so happy to add that to the collection. Picked this up at my local as well. This is James Blunt, kind of a greatest hits here. It's called The Stars Beneath My Feet, 2004 to 2021. It's got most of the really good songs on here. So there's a track listing for you from his early albums. I have his first two albums on CD and absolutely love them. We used to listen to them in the car rides all the time. And so it's fun to have some of these songs on vinyl now. Really good pressing, sounds really good, so they did a great job with it. This is Record Store Day leftovers, and kind of one of those ones that were sold out and then more stock came in. So I decided to grab this. I haven't listened to it yet, but I hear good things about it. This is Aerosmith, The Road Starts Here. Some of the earliest, probably the earliest recording of Aerosmith that is available. Also decided to pick this up recently. This is Tom Petty's Finding Wildflowers alternate versions. My local record store did a 12 Days of Christmas type theme and put a lot of the overstock that they had on sale for really good prices. So I jumped when this one was, I think it was like 15 bucks or something like that. Just dirt cheap. No, not that low. Probably 20 bucks. But dirt cheap compared to what you'd pay for it normally. So happy to have that. It sounds amazing and is really, really good. Picked this one up at Urban Outfitters. This is Miley Cyrus. And this is The Time of Our Lives. Really only picked this up for the song Party in the USA because my family absolutely loves that song. And thought it'd be kind of fun to have on vinyl. But it's really a good album. Miley Cyrus has a lot of talent and really enjoyed listening to it. Here's one that thanks to Marikin, who posted this on her latest finds video, and I've been looking for the album with one particular song. This is Phineas, and this is called Blood Harmony Deluxe Version. Now, I've been looking for the song Break My Heart Again. I saw it on a talent show of some sort, being sung, found out it was Phineas, looked for it forever, couldn't find it on any of his albums. And it turns out it's on the deluxe version of this album, and she posted that she had picked it up, and I nearly had a heart attack because of it, and quickly ran out to Amazon and ordered this copy, and super happy to have it. It's a really good album if you like Billie Eilish. It's her brother, and he helped her produce and do all her stuff. It's really, really good. Also, this came up finally in stock again from Mofi. Original master recording of Carole King's Tapestry, just a fantastic album, and this is an awesome sounding press. I had given my old a copy to my father-in-law because he wanted it for his wall. He's putting a bunch of the records that he listened to as a kid on there, and I had it sitting there and said, I really want to get this version anyway, so I'll just give it to my father-in-law and wait for it to come out. It finally did, and it sounds amazing. JJ Grey and the Mofro, if you're not familiar with them, they're a bluesy soul band that opened up for Blackberry Smoke when I went and saw them a few years back, and really enjoyed them. Have been trying to get some of their albums, and they've slowly been reissuing their early albums back on vinyl. This is the second one now. This is Mofro's, it's called or Lock Lusa, something like that. Anyway, fantastic, comes on green vinyl. You have to buy it directly from their website, worth every penny. These guys are fantastic, and the pressings that they're putting out of these early albums sound great. Picked up the new one from Cody Jinx, pre-ordered this on the website. It took a long time for them to get their copies into their warehouse, but it was well worth the wait. Just a fantastic album. This is the website version on the blue vinyl, and it's just a fantastic sounding album, and Cody Jinx is just an amazing songwriter, so super happy to have this. This is called Mercy, brand new album from Cody Jinx. Also decided to pick this up. This is Natalie M Hemby. She is part of the Highwomen supergroup. She's a longtime songwriter in Nashville, and this is her newest album. I don't know if she has other albums out or not, to be honest with you, but this is really good. Really enjoyed it. It's called Pins and Needles, Natalie Embry. Fantastic. All right, so I had some Christmas money that I got from family and whatnot, and so I decided to pick up some albums that I normally do not pick up because of the price of them. And so I went to my local and picked 3 albums up that I have been wanting to get but haven't pulled the trigger on, like I said, because they're a little more expensive than I like to pay for an album. First one is this one, the Almond Brothers, Where It All Begins. This is a absolutely fantastic album. My introduction to the Almond Brothers was the song No One to Run With, and it was played on the radio station quite a bit, and I really enjoyed it, but never had this album before. So this is an absolutely fantastic album. It also has the song Soul Shine on here, which when I was in a band, we used to play that song all the time, so it's fun to have that finally. Just a really good album, and like I said, this one goes pretty like $44 I think new, so finally able to pick that up and happy to finally add that Almond Brothers classic to my albums. Metallica's Garage Inc. is another one that again, this one goes for up around $50, and it's an album that I've wanted because I like several songs on here and their versions of the songs. It's a covers album, obviously. It includes the Garage Days Revisited from 1987 that they put out, an EP, but it also has a ton of other cover songs that they did during the Sessions for Black album and Load and things like that. The songs on here that I really wanted: Turn the Page, a Bob Seger cover, Whiskey in the Jar, which is fantastic, Tuesday's Gone, Skinner cover. Just really good stuff. So happy to finally add this into my collection as well. And then I picked up Mark Knopfler's Tracker album. This is like a $40 album, and again, you know, I keep looking for it to go on sale somewhere, and it just never comes back in stock. My locals had it sitting there, and every time I go, I look at it and pick it up and then put it back. So I finally pulled the trigger on it. A really beautiful album by Mark Knopfler. Super glad to have that in my collection as well. All right, so for Christmas this year, I fully intended to purchase the the Mark Knopfler box set that was supposed to come out in December. Then got notice that the box set was delayed until April. That was my Christmas gift, and unfortunately wasn't going to come. So I decided to get 2 other albums that I really wanted that I just hadn't pulled the trigger on. And so I treated myself to Stone Temple Pilots Purple, my favorite album of theirs. This is the deluxe version that comes with vinyl and CD as well. The sound on the vinyl for these are absolutely phenomenal. I have Core, and so I added this one to my collection. It is my favorite one of theirs, and so it was no-brainer. CDs in here include the original album remastered, a live album from New Haven, Connecticut, 1994, and some demos and acoustic versions of some of the songs from the album as well. Really cool stuff. They do a great job with these packages. So I also picked up Tiny Music. Songs from the Vatican gift shop. Another one, same thing, vinyl and CDs. And on this one we have the original album remastered, and then you have live at Panama City Beach, Florida in 1997, and again, early versions, instrumentals, and alternate mixes for songs on this album. They do just awesome job with these, and looking forward to the next one, which will probably not come out for a couple years now. I think they do them for the 25th anniversary of each of their albums, so super pumped about that. All right, so that brings us to the end here, and I wanted to close out with two grails that I picked up recently. I have been selling some of my albums, as many of you know who follow either my podcast or have seen previously. Last year I had an episode on that, and I've been selling some of the albums that are worth a few more dollars than others. And so I use those dollars to justify picking up two albums that have been on my want list and my grail list for quite some time now. They're hard to get, they're expensive, and I normally won't pay the kind of money that those albums command. But because I was able to move some of my more expensive albums that I just wasn't listening to, I was able to tell myself I could splurge a little bit. The first one I picked up is the Pistol Annie's Annie Up. This is their first album, I believe, and it is super hard to find, super hard to get, and it's super not cheap. So it's been in my cart for the better part of 3 or 4 months leading up to this, trying to get myself to convince myself that I can spend the money on this album, because I don't know if or when it's going to get repressed. Of course, now that I've paid for it, I'm sure it's going to get a repress, but that's fine. I finally convinced myself that I could go ahead and purchase this album, and I did, and I'm super happy I did. It's so awesome to have this album on vinyl. This completes my Pistol Annie's collection. I now have all of their albums on vinyl, and I couldn't be happier about it. So that is number one. And number two, so this was my one goal for 2021, was to find and purchase this album. I reached out to record stores, I reached out to people I know who sell vinyl and sell some of the harder to get vinyl. I reached out everywhere trying to find someone who had a copy of this on vinyl that was willing to sell it. Most of the people who had copy or copies of it weren't selling them at the time. I saw it go once in a group for a pretty good price and decided not to pay that. Never seen it in the wild, hard to get. Then they announced that a bootleg version was going to be released. So I was pumped. I was I'll get the bootleg and hope for a repress down the line. So the bootleg comes out, I get the bootleg, super disappointed in the bootleg. Thought it sounded awful. Didn't enjoy it. Was happy to have it because now I had something I could put on and spin, but I had to really crank up my stereo and I had to turn the loudness factor on in order to just feel the album. And so I was very disappointed. So there was an event that happened on Facebook and one of the groups I'm in where they do a big Christmas sale. And this one came up on there and it was priced a little high. I didn't know if I wanted to pay for it. Then after the event was over, the next day the seller offered a discount of 20% off of anything that they had left over. At that point I said, okay. I did the math and decided I was okay with that price, and I jumped on it. And I finally picked it up. This is Firehouse's self-titled debut album. This is a South Korean press. It sounds fantastic. It's so much better than the bootleg was, and I am super happy that I decided to just pull the trigger on it and pick it up. So there you have the label. Like I said, a South Korean pressing of it. I would have loved to have an US or European press, but again, those go for even more money. And so super pumped to finally have this in my collection. I have the Korean version of their second album, Hold Your Fire, so they go together and it's awesome. So this was the one goal of 2021 I had, was buying this album on vinyl. It's an album that's super important to me because of sentimental reasons. When I was in high school and just out of high school, a friend of mine and I listened to these guys constantly, specifically this album and their third album, and we went to a meet and greet with them at a local Best Buy and got their autographs and everything else, saw them in concert a couple times, and so this was an important album to me, and so I was happy to spend the money, get the album, and now it's in my collection and I couldn't be happier. So there you have it. That is my vinyl haul for December of 2021. Closes out the year on a high note. Very excited about everything I picked up, and hope you enjoyed this video and seeing what there was. If you did, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. Love to hear from everyone in the VC. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. I will be back in a little bit with a video on my favorite purchases of 2021. You can bet that the Firehouse and the Pistolonis will be in that list. But instead of doing my favorite albums of 2021, I'm going to do my favorite purchases, which will include reissues or picking up of used vinyl, also new albums that have come out. So look for that in the next week or so, hopefully, and I'll see you next time. Until then, keep spinning vinyl, friends.